Hi there. Let's review some equipment that we use in aqua fitness classes. So oftentimes we think we're exercising or strengthening one muscle when maybe we aren't because of the properties of water. As we know, water is very buoyant, and so there's all sorts of equipment. Some are buoyant and some are resistive. I'm going to start with the aqua bells because these are what most pools have now, and they kind of look cool. They look like dumbbells. They look like you can work really hard with them. But as you know, they're very light. They're just dense foam, and they're buoyant, so they float in the water. As soon as something floats in the water, you know that it's a buoyant piece of equipment. All right, so aqua bells, they're great. I mean, I use them sometimes just in the cardio. So if I'm doing cross country, you know, sort of at the end, or jumping jacks, that kind of thing, they're great to add a little bit more intensity. But as far as muscle strengthening, we often think, oh, we're going to do bicep curls. Well, because these are buoyant and the water is buoyant, the water is assisting as well as the equipment is assisting on the way up. So there's no resistance on the way up. The resistance is on the way down. So when we're doing an elbow flexion in the water, it's actually just working the triceps because this is where the resistance is. All right, so you can always tell if you're going against the resistance and against the buoyancy with buoyant equipment. All right, same thing when we lift our arms to the side. Now, if we're using a hand weight on land, we do have resistance because it's weighted and it's heavy. So when we lift, the resistance is on the medial deltoid. In the water with these, there's no resistance coming up. The resistance is on the way down. So that is working the lats or the latissimus dorsi. So it's the downward movement with these aqua bells where the resistance is, okay? So if you're gonna do an elbow flexion, don't call it a bicep curl because people automatically think, oh, I'm working my biceps. Say we're doing an elbow flexion, but we're working our triceps. Let's do a tricep exercise. It's the same thing if you were going this way, all right? So there's no resistance on the way up, only on the way back. Now, if you're gonna use these in the water, you can use them for chest and back because if we're going against the resistance of the water in this direction, you do have resistance, okay? So if you're down, shoulders under the water, and you're coming forward and back, you can work chest, anterior deltoid, and posterior deltoid, a little bit in the rhomboids if you're squeezing, okay? So you can use these for that type of exercise. You can use them as a push-up, so if you're horizontal, but remember that the resistance is on the way down, okay? Or if you're doing it laterally, any lateral movements, all right? So that's the aqua bells. Same thing with the noodle. It's buoyant, so we don't get resistance on the way up. It's only on the way down. Okay, there's lots of things you can do with a noodle in the water, but just remember, if you're going to do anything like this, it's a tricep extension. Okay, buoyant equipment with the buoyancy of the water. Flutter boards are another great piece of equipment, but again, they're buoyant, so nothing on the way up, but you can push down. You can do, you know, canoes, paddles, that kind of thing. I often use these just holding on at the end of the class for flutter kicking across, just to give a little bit more variety, challenging the lower body. So you can use them for that type of thing, or holding it upright this way and running in the water. So running forward or running back, so you have resistance in this direction. Okay, so again, flutter boards are great, but they are buoyant. I prefer paddles or the the web gloves. Those are great too. Those are resistive pieces of equipment. So it doesn't matter what I'm doing in the water, I have resistance with these because they're not buoyant. Well, they will float a little bit, but as you know, they're flat and you can push down and pull up and you still get resistance. These are so much more efficient than using aqua bells. So anything that you have like a paddle or something that has resistance in all directions, I think are more efficient. As you know, in the water, if you have something like this, you can do a bicep curl and a tricep extension in one movement, okay? Whereas you can't do that with the aqua bell. So you're working biceps, triceps, okay? Really, really good to use these. And then these are little claws. We have these at one of our pools, and they're nice for people who have arthritis in their hands. They have a hard time holding on to other equipment because they're all the way around your arm, so they're not gonna fall off, and you can just hold with a nice light grip. And they have less resistance than the aqua bells or the paddles. So I find for some people that don't want too much resistance, but they want something, these are a really nice option, okay? And as you know, you can use your hands, you don't need equipment. Using your hands for resistance is great as well. No matter what you're doing, encourage your participants to keep their fingers together, hands flat or cupped, and they will get resistance all the time in the water. And same thing, you know, lengthening the levers makes things a little bit harder. Elbows bent makes it a little bit easier. Fingers open or fisted hands makes it easier as well. All right, so there's some just quick overview about the equipment. When you can get into the water and practice some of the moves, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. And I hope that helps you. Bye for now.